Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. We're waking up with watches and everything you see in this show is in stock and for sale. Reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning any of these watches. We're talking about a variant launched in 2020 to kick off the Cartier Santos Large. This is the ADLC with the amorphous diamond-like carbon-covered bezel. So you get this lovely two-tone aesthetic. The bezel is more anthracite than black. It's somewhere between gray and black. It's got a beautiful brushed vertical graining to it. And then if you look in profile, you can see its flanks have been beautifully gloss finished with a polished sheen. The same is true of the case, which is surprisingly curvaceous and complex with this bevel that runs all the way from end to end. Now, while it is called the Santos Large, it is not large by most definitions, being about 39.8 from side to side, not inclusive of the crown, 9.4 millimeters thick, and then 47.5 from lug to lug. Of course, it's got all these brilliant present-gen Santos features, like the quick switch bracelet. It comes with an accessory strap, and then all of these removable links that are push-button spring bar retention systems. So you push the button, the bar pops out, the link comes off. You can literally size this bracelet and remove this bracelet without any tools of any kind, and it works just like that. Now, the watch is very, very well loomed. As you can see, there's no shortage. And I should mention, it's sportier than you think, with 1,000 Gauss, actually 1,200 Gauss anti-magnetic resistance, and 100-meter water resistance inside Cartier manufactured caliber 1847, automatic, 42-hour power reserve, hacking, and quickset. We'll throw this watch on my 16-centimeter circumference wrist, get a sense of it, and it's actually a great look. This could be your sports watch or your dress watch. It's very versatile, and it's not so large that a woman couldn't wear it if she prefers a larger style. You can see how it'll slip under a cuff without trouble, and then looking where the lugs are in relation to the edge of my wrist, no problems whatsoever. A sports watch, a dress watch, and a great candidate to be your only watch. This is the reason why Cartier is now second only to Rolex in watch sales in Switzerland. Yeah, that's the brave new world we're living in, and you can see why. It's probably the most expensively developed and sophisticated bracelet you can buy at any price point. Now, eschewing bracelets for one of the greatest Reverso models of all time, made from 1992 to 2002, and then in only 200 pieces in white gold, as you see here, the Grande Taille cased Reverso Art Deco. Now, of course, the original Reverso was created in 1931, the heart of the classical Art Deco era. This is the Grande Taille case, and you can see this extraordinary rosette-style brushed and physical applique index set dial. So this is truly Art Deco, this dial. We're about to see something that's a little bit more Art Nouveau. This watch carries a potent second stage, but it's 26 wide and it's about 42.2 lug to lug in white gold. They only made 200 in white gold, about 900 in rose gold. The white gold is the one to own, in my opinion, for both the contrast and the rarity. So you've got that lovely contrast between the dial and the case, and you flip it over, and you can see that the skeletonized movement is actually a little bit more Art Nouveau than Art Deco. And every example of this movement, the 822 SQ, it's been skeletonized and then it's been freehand engraved, so no two are exactly alike. Silver, gold, rose gold, violet, blue. It's a bewildering array of colors, textures, tones, focal planes, and finishing that is world-class, as fine as anything you'll find at the likes of Patek or Vacheron. You can even see that the barrel has been open wrought with the JL logo engraved into it. A truly extraordinary and highly sought Reverso model. It's considered one of the all-time greats and one of the all-time great model lines in history. And yes, it's got 3 hands. I just want to make that clear. They're superimposed. Note they're half frosted for better contrast. This one's a gem. Speaking of Vacheron, I mentioned them in passing. Let's not undersell what VC is doing with the Historiques collection today. This is, of course, the Vacheron Constantin Historiques 222. So this is part of their revival collection of models realized as faithfully to the original as possible, albeit in the modern catalog. So this is a reference to the original Jörg Heissig 222 of 1977. It's 37 millimeters in diameter. It's only 45.5 lug to lug and 8.3 millimeters thick. You could see it has a handsome and upscale sort of cream-colored dial inside a yellow gold case. There is no shortage of lume. It's quite nicely loomed in that regard. This bracelet, one of the best feeling at any price, has very little daylight showing between links and incredibly little side-to-side play. A lot of folks asked, why buy this when there is the overseas self-winding? And I would say, above and beyond any other reason, the fit. This is much smaller than a 41 millimeter overseas self-winding. In diameter at 37, in thickness and at lug to lug, this is a mid-size by the standards of the current overseas, and you can see it wears beautifully. Every Vacheron is a dress watch at heart, and this one pulls double duty as your sporty everyday carry and your formal attire watch. It's got the famed serrated bezel, the little white gold Vacheron Maltese cross logo in the lower right-hand corner. It's powered by 40-hour automatic Geneva seal caliber 2455. With hacking and quick set. Yes, hacking, in spite of not having a seconds hand, it does have a stop seconds function. You see this beautifully faceted, alternately polished and satin finished Maltese cross crown. A real special watch and destined to be a lot less common than the new steel version of the 222. Speaking of revivals, we've got a great one right here from Zenith. So this is a 2024 launch, but this is the Zenith Defy Extreme Diver, the 3648, I should say. So the 3648 originally came out in 1969, and 3648 was an extreme diver in its day, just as this one is fairly extreme by modern standards. Part of the Defy Revival collection, the Defy Revival 3648 is 37 millimeters in diameter, and then it's only about 44 millimeters lug to lug, so it has 1960s dive watch dimensions. The 3648 features a tetradecagon faceted bezel, and then a sapphire capped 120 click rotating unidirectional dive bezel. The original would have had a thermoplastic capped dive bezel, but this one has sapphire because we're talking about an upscale modern watch built to luxury standards. There is no shortage of luminescence, including all three hands on the dial, and I have to say that the 120 click feel of this outer bezel is one of the best I've experienced. It's up there with the likes of, oddly enough, Cartier's old Calibre de Cartier diver, Rolex, and Grand Seiko. Now, the modern Defy case is often mistaken for something borrowed from Tag Heuer or Hublot, but you can see the original Defy case shape is a smaller version of the polygonal faceted quasi-tonneau form of the modern Defys. Taking a look on the underside, you can see Elite Caliber 670 automatic winding, 50-hour power reserve, a manufacturer movement, unidirectional winding action. It's got a quick set and a hacking seconds function, but one of the fun features of the Elite is that it has this bidirectional quick set system that actually works in both directions, which is nice and nifty. And because of the offset crown, it's fully ambidextrous. The bracelet's a lovely piece, undoubtedly better built than the historical versions. And when we get inside the clasp, you can see there is a fold-out dive extension. The watch is surprisingly 600 meters water resistant, so it was an extreme diver in its day. This is an extreme diver today, but it is not extreme in size, viable for him and for her. This is definitely a unisex option, a lovely looking piece. I'm actually thinking of buying it myself. Remember, not every Zenith is a chronograph, and not every great Zenith is an El Primero. This is a fantastic way to look back with nostalgia, but also get a functional dive watch. Remember, you don't want to dive with a vintage dive watch. This gives you the look with modern fit finish materials and the ability to go full aquatic if you like. So, up next, from Patek Philippe, the 5370P. This is the original version that bowed back in 2015. So, black enamel dial, a real breakthrough to do black enamel and later blue enamel. Dark enamel is incredibly challenging, and Patek Philippe once delivered even grand complications with black lacquered dials. Look at the old 5016s. Almost all of them that have black dials have black lacquered dials. It's very difficult, excuse my fingerprints here, but it's very difficult to do a black enamel because it shows all of the ridges, the divots, and the chalk-like coarseness of enamel, which is fired glass on a solid gold dial base. Well, up to 20 firings at 800 degrees centigrade and careful applications of clear and black creates this beautiful fired enamel dial with white gold Breguet Arabic numerals, leaf hands in white gold, surprisingly a little bit of luminescence. It is a coaxial pusher, split second. So it's a rattrapant system. Split seconds, you can see both of the seconds hands have been matte finished. And then we have a tachymetric scale outboard. The case is 41 millimeters in diameter by about 49.6 lug to lug. And you can see how this case has been scooped out in its center and the recess satinated with these white gold cabochon pins at each end. The rest of the case is platinum. The case actually starts with a 60-ton press. Patek makes its own dials, cases, and movements these days. Although, curiously enough, it still purchases the hands. That's one element Patek has not insourced yet. Taking a look at the movement, 65-hour power reserve, manual wind, 4 Hertz beat rate. Yes, it has stop seconds. It has a column wheel and a lateral clutch, a Gyromax style balance, and an overcoil hairspring, beautifully executed. You can see that at center we have a secondary bridge for the second column wheel, the springs, and the pincer mechanism that underpins the split second. So you can see the pincers now grab and hold and stop that second hand right there. And then you press the crown again, and it releases. And there's a decoupler built in so that the whole movement doesn't get slowed down and drag when the split-second mechanism is activated. A lot of folks don't realize that when you stop the secondary hand on a conventional split-second, you slow the watch, it drags and begins losing time. Lange and Patek use a decoupler system to ensure that their splits don't run into that problem. And you can see that the finishing and the architecture are world-class in every regard. It's the Patek Philippe you dream of, and it doesn't disappoint on any count. It is big. I'd recommend it for a wrist no smaller than mine, 16 centimeters circumference. Getting a look on the wrist, you can see it's quite substantial. Not too big, but very large. And being a platinum Patek of the modern era, it has the top Vesselton diamond between the lugs to remind you. A great-looking watch that harks back to Patek history. It's not referencing any particular model, although there's some heavy-handed nods to the old 1436. Probably more than anything else, there are nods here to the 1436. This is very much a classic in its own right and out of production with the black dial since 2020. You're going to see double now, not one but two compact white gold blue dial enamel dress watches from Breguet and a Lange und Sohne. So let's talk about the one that's probably better known to you, which is the Saxonia thin copper blue. So this is a white gold ultra thin model that features an aventurine glass dial, so dark translucent blue enamel on, I believe, a sterling silver dial base is how they make this one. White gold hands and indices. So there are metal elements inlaid into the translucent enamel. Aventurine glass, after all, is what we mean when we talk about aventurine dials. True stone aventurine is rarely used in watches. This is a type of enamel that's translucent enough that you could see the metallic elements. The watch is very thin, at under 8 millimeters thick, and then you can see around back. The movement is gorgeous, but this is a rare Lange watch you wear for the dial. But you do get a 3-day power reserve, and all of the Lange architectural and finishing flourishes that we associate with the brand are present. Most people focus on the freehand engraved balance cock or the German silver. I'm most impressed by the beveled teeth on the crown and ratchet wheel and their solarization, which is exquisite. Throw it on the wrist, you can see it's maybe not the most dynamic watch to look at because of the absence of a seconds hand, but it certainly is elegant. So far on board the edge of my wrist, I could recommend this for wrists of, I would say, 13.5 centimeters circumference, making this a viable option for both men and women. The watch you're probably less familiar with here is from Breguet. This is a model launched, as you see it here, in 2019, the Classique 5177, 38 millimeters in white gold. It's 9 millimeters thick and 46 lug to lug. So the 5177 in white gold has a super dark blue enamel dial, and you could see the hand-painted silver numerals. You can also see, if you look very closely, that there's an engraved Breguet secret signature below the hands. One of the few instances in the modern era where I could actually say the secret is fairly well kept, and you only can see it at certain different angles relative to the light. We have white gold hands, including Breguet hour and minute hands, and we have a seconds hand here and a date. So this is going to be more for people like me who enjoy having constant motion on the dial and appreciate the presence of a date. I like those features. Some people don't. Some people don't like dates. There is a version of this, a 5177 made in 10 pieces for Tokyo, that does not have a date, but I like the utility of the date. And it is a modern movement inside. You can see we have a stop seconds function right here, so you can set the watch to a reference time. in caliber 777Q. The Q is for quantième. It features a quickset. Note that the numerals are canted to match the trapezoidal shape of the window and that the disc for the date is the same color as the dial. You can see a little bit of what I mean here, that when I talk about enamel dials having a very subtle orange peel or lemon peel-like texture to them. It's a beautiful feature of enamel that's very traditional. On the back, automatic winding, silicone escapement, silicone hairspring, free sprung, 55-hour power reserve, beautifully decorated with a guilloche white gold rotor. And notice the presence adjacent to the balance of two sharp interior angles with high-grade beveling, engine turning on the base plate, stripes on the bridges, mirrored and polished countersinks for the jewels, and then snailing on the outer face of the bridges with all screw heads polished. You can also see screws, bars, and set screws used to fix the strap to the case, a very expensive upscale way of making a case along with welded lug construction. A beautiful watch. And on the wrist, I'd say it's got the same presence of the Lange. It does feel as though it wears a little larger in spite of being 1 millimeter smaller. I think it's the size and span of the lugs that makes this feel a little bit more like a 40. That said, it's still perfectly suitable for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference and nice and thin at 9 millimeters thick. So a watch that excels on every level. Really, Breguet is the best kept secret in dress watches right now, as you're getting Holy Trinity or Lange quality, typically at Zenith and JLC like resale values, which is to say the best of all possible worlds. If you love these watches, reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details of this or any watch in today's show.